We are welcome to episode 20 of Lachie Does Footy. We're going to be looking at the review of round 19, the tipping after round 19, the ladder after round 19, the second week of Lachie's Fun Fact, and prediction for round 20, and also we are back at our normal set, and now we are on to round 19 review. Adelaide versus Essendon at Marvel Stadium. Although it was raining in Melbourne and wet in Melbourne, the roof was closed. Crows won it by 2 points. Ben Keys, 5 goals, 1 and 22 touches and 8 tackles. Darcy Fogarty, 4 goals. Josh Rochelli, 3 goals, along with Nick Cox from Essendon, 3 goals. Zach Merritt, 30 disposals and a goal, while for Riley O'Brien, 47 hitouts he had. As for Adelaide, well, they could make a late charge for the finals, but it's going to have to take a lot to get there. And for Essendon, the search to find the real football club continues. As for the game itself, it's been that first quarter was all Essendon, second quarter was all Adelaide, third quarter was all Essendon, and then the Crows came out to win by 2 points. GWS versus Gold Coast at Giant Stadium. GWS led all game to win by 39 points. Lachie Whitfield had 40 disposals and 10 marks. Sam Flanders was the only shining light for the Gold Coast with 43 touches. Tom Green's had 34 possessions and 7 tackles. And now we move on to the goal scorers. Jesse Hogan, 4 goals for Giants. Toby Green, 2 goals. Brett Daniels, also 2 goals for the Giants. Jack Lukosius, 2 goals for the Gold Coast Suns. GWS, it means they're going to be having their top 8 spot chances set, and they're going to be making the top 8 very soon. As for Gold Coast, well, they need to start speaking to property developers to build more people-first stadiums. St Kilda versus West Coast at Marvel Stadium. What an embarrassing game for West Coast. Again! They lost by 72 points and they didn't even crack the lead once. Tim Membry, 5 goals for the Saints, 23 touches, 10 marks and 7 tackles. His best game of his career. Jack Steele, 31 touches and 5 tackles. Rowan Marshall, 24 hitouts and 26 headout disposals and 24 hitouts. Mason Wood had a great game, 3 goals, 4. He could have had 7. Jack Williams kicked 3 goals for West Coast, and I think that's about it for the Eagles. St Kilda, it's a good character win for them. As for West Coast, well, if this embarrassing losses continue, well, this could be the last time you could see Harley Reid. Hawthorn versus Collingwood at the MCG. Hawthorn, they're looking very scary right now for the rest of the league after winning by 66 points in the very rainy MCG. Collingwood fans, I know you're going to be offended to say that. Jack Jennifer's had a great game, 31 disposals and 2 goals and 5 marks. Connor McDonald kicked 4 goals. Luke Bruce, 4 goals. Nick Watson, 3 goals. Manuel Child, 2 goals, 3. He could have had 5. Massimo D'Ambrosio kicked 2 goals as well. That's for Hawthorn. They are looking very serious right now. If they keep this form up, they're going to be in September in no time. As for Collingwood, well, I'm crossing you off the list. Season done. Geelong versus Western Bulldogs at GMHBA Stadium. It was a statement win for the Bulldogs. They went down to the highway and beat them by 47 points. Adam Treloar had a great game, 31 disposals and 3 goals. Ed Richards, 29 touches and 2 goals. Tim English, 41 hitouts and 17 touches. Jamara Ugle-Hagan kicked 4 goals, including 3 in the row in the last quarter. Tom Stewart was the only shining light that game for Geelong, 26 touches and 8 marks. As for Western Bulldogs, well, they're coming. As for Geelong, they're still in the 8, but they're looking very shaky. Port Adelaide versus Richmond at the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide managed to get up by 41 points, although it was close for most of the match. Charlie Dixon, 4 goals, 2 for Port Adelaide. Mitch Georgiadis, 3 goals, 1, and Riley Mansell, 3 goals for Richmond. Connor Rosie, 2 goals, 1 and 24 touches for Port. As for, there was a Rioli shootout right there. Daniel kicked 2 for Richmond. Willie kicked 2 for Port Adelaide. Ollie Wines had a great game, 32 touches with 21 handballs. Jace Burgoyne, 24 disposals and 7 tackles. Logan Evans, who's mates with Julio from Jupiter Supports, 22 disposals and 9 marks. It's another good game from Port Adelaide. There's still a chance for the finals. As for Richmond, number 1 pick coming their way. We now got Brisbane versus Sydney at the Gabba. As I said last week when I was outside my house, game of the round, and it was the game of the round. Brisbane led for most of the first half. Sydney led in the third quarter. Brisbane then got up by 2 points thanks to Calamarchi's winning goal. Joe Danaher and Hugh McCluggage, 6 goals each, although Hugh McCluggage was best on ground with 26 touches. Will Hayward, 2 goals free for Sydney, while Cam Rayner kicked 2-1 for Brisbane. Errol Gordon had 27 touches and a goal for the Swans. Dane Zorko, 12 marks and 27 kicks. Oscar McInerney played great in the ruck against Brodie Grundy. As for the teams, Brisbane, well, although they had a poor start to the season, they're showing they are definitely back. As for Sydney, still top, but it's showing concerning signs. They've lost 3 out of the last 4. Fremantle versus Melbourne at Optus Stadium. Freo got up by 50 points. It was not like 92 points from back at Alice Springs last time. Michael Walters, 4 goals, 1. Comes to show he hasn't aged at all. Deadeye Jai's kicked 4 goals straight. Josh Treacy, he's kicked 3 goals too, looking very good. Sam Sturt back to his 2020 self, 3 goals, 1. Caleb Sarong, 36 touches and a goal after a few slow games. Andrew Brayshaw, 41 touches. Another only player to report for Melbourne here is Jacob Van Rooyen. Well, could someone be able to please take him home to Western Australia, please? It's a great win for Fremantle. They're looking to cement that top 4 spot. As for Melbourne, well, a few more losses to go there, and I'm going to have to cross them off the season done. Carlton versus North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. It was the last game of the round. It was almost the upset of the round. North Melbourne led for a lot of the stages. It looked like they were going to win, but Carlton got up by 19 points. Charlie Curnow, 4 goals, 2 for the Blues. Matt Ollie's 3-1 for the Blues. Charlie Comben with a move up forward, 3 goals. Paul Curtis kicked 3 goals. Harry Sheasel, 35 touches and 2 goals, looked really good. Tristan Sherry, 43 headouts in the ruck, held his own against Tom DeConning. Carlton, it was a good win for them, and it was a nervous win for them. They're still in the top 4, looking to cement it. As for North Melbourne, well, they're looking good, and they could be out of the bottom 6 next year. Now we move on to the tipping for round 19. Essendon and Adelaide, I picked the Crows by 3 points, Crows by 2 points. GWS and Gold Coast, I picked the Giants, that's 2. Saints and West Coast, I picked the Saints, that's 3. Hawthorn and Collingwood, I picked the Hawks, that's 4. Cats and the Bulldogs, I picked the Cats, but Bulldogs got it done by 47 points. Port and Richmond, I picked the Power, that's 5. Lions and Swans, I picked the Lions, that's 6. Dockers and Melbourne, I picked Freo, that's 7. Blues and North Melbourne, I picked the Blues, that's 8. That brings my total score to 8 out of 9 for the week and 93 out of 162 for the year. And that's the best week of tipping so far. Now we move on to the ladder after round 19. First on the ladder, we got the Sydney Swans. Well, they've lost 3 out of the last 5 games. Second, we got Carlton. They looked shaky for 2 weeks. They're back on the winners list. Third, we got the Brisbane Lions. 7 wins in a row. There could be more coming up soon. Fourth, we got Fremantle. 4 wins out of the last 5. Fifth, we got GWS. They've won 3 in a row after a shaky middle season. Sixth, we got Geelong. They've had a bit of weird form. They've lost to the Bulldogs on last week. Seventh, we got Port Adelaide. They're moving up the ladder. They just had a good win over Richmond. Eighth, we got Essendon. Well, like I said last week, I wouldn't be surprised to see them out of the 8 zone. Ninth on the ladder, we got the Western Bulldogs. They're coming up. 10th, we got Melbourne. Well, they've been very poor. If they lose to GWS, they may as well call Flight Centre because the lowest airfares are guaranteed. We got Hawthorn. Well, they're scary and they're looking set to make finals if they keep this form up. 12th, we got the Gold Coast Suns. Well, still can't win it away from home. Well, they might lose at People First Stadium next week. 13th, we got Collingwood. Well, go ring Flight Centre up right now because their lowest airfares are guaranteed. And season done for Collingwood. 14th, we got the Crows. Good win, but doesn't mean much. 15th, we got same as St Kilda at 15th. Bottom 3, West Coast, North Melbourne and Richmond all lost, but North Melbourne were the only ones who played good. And now we move on to Lachie's Fun Fact 2. This is the first time that 2 umpires have retired on the same week in AFL history. Razor Ray Chamberlain and Chris Donlan will both hang up their whistle after 800 games combined. Now we move on to the predictions for round 20. We got Carlton versus Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. Carlton have been on a good run against Port Adelaide lately, winning the last 3. Port Adelaide, however, they need this win to stay in touch with the 8. For this one, I'm going with the Blues by 30 points. Best players for Carlton, I'm going with the Torwin Towers, Paddy Cripps and Sam Walsh. Port Adelaide, I'm going with Connor Rosie if he's fit, Zach Butters, and Mitch Georgiadis. Now we move on to North Melbourne versus Geelong at Bloodstone Arena. It should be a good game for Geelong. They need to win that game to stay in touch of the 8. As the North Melbourne, they need to win that game to go one game clear of bottom. For the game itself, I'm going with the Kangaroos by 10 points. The reason why, because North Melbourne's midfield is better and they can win the clearances. That's why I picked them for best players, alongside Paul Curtis. As for Geelong, I'm going with Jeremy Cameron and Tom Stewart. Brisbane versus Gold Coast at People First Stadium, the second instalment of the Q Clash. Last time Brisbane won by 34 points. In this edition, however, I'm going with the Brisbane Lions by 30 points. Best players for Brisbane, I'm going with Hugh McCluggage, Eric Hipwood, and Dane Zorko. Gold Coast, I'm going with the 2019 draft class trio, and that's about it. Gold Coast need to win that game to keep their season alive. Brisbane need to win that game to keep their spot in the top 2 and go ahead of Carlton. And now we move on to St Kilda versus Essendon at Marvel Stadium, the second Saturday twilight game of the round. St Kilda need to win that game to have some pride. Essendon, well, they're currently looking like fraudsters. For this game, I've got Essendon. Goodbye finals for them. I got Saints by 21 points. Best players for the Saints, I'm going with Jack Sinclair, Rowan Marshall, and Tim Membry. Essendon, I'm going with Zach Barrett, Jai Caldwell, and Nick Martin. Now we move on to the Western Derby. Fremantle versus West Coast at Optus Stadium, the second rivalry of the round. First we had the King Clash, and now we got the Western Derby. Last time West Coast won the Western Derby. For this instalment, however, I'm going with West Coast not winning the Western Derby. Freo by 58 points. Best players for the Dockers, I'm going with the whole squad. West Coast, I'm going with just about no one exactly. And West Coast, they've got their derby win early in the season, and that's about it. Now we've got Melbourne versus GWS at the MCG. This is realistically Melbourne's last chance to make the finals. GWS, they need to win this game to cement their spot in the 8. As for Melbourne, they need to win that game to keep their season alive. I've got Melbourne in their finals chances. Gone! GWS by 38 points. Best players for Melbourne, I'm going with Trent Rivers in his midfield role and Jacob Van Rooyen. GWS, I'm going with Green Squared and Jesse Hogan. Collingwood versus Richmond at the MCG. For this one, this game might not mean much. Collingwood, almost just about season done. So Richmond, well, their season is already done. For this one, I'm going with Collingwood by 7 points. Best players for Collingwood going with Dacos Squared and Darcy Moore. As for Richmond, I'm going with Toby Nankervis, Shea Bolton, and that's about it. Sydney versus Western Bulldogs at the SCG. Sydney will be saying goodbye to Sam Reid as he has already announced his retirement. It should be a good game. As for this game, I'm going with the Swans by a point. Best players for the Swans, I'm going with their midfield trio and Brodie Grundy. Western Bulldogs, their midfield trio and Tim English. It'll be a battle at the midfield. And now we move on to the final game of round 20. Adelaide versus Hawthorn at Adelaide Oval. Crows are capable of beating anyone. But this week they've got no Jordan Dawson with concussion protocols. As for Hawthorn, they are looking very scary for that big win over Collingwood. For this one, I'm going with Hawthorn by 27 points. Best players for Crows, I'm going with Ben Keys, Riley O'Brien, and Darcy Fogarty. Hawthorn, I'm going with Connor McDonald, Jack Ginnivan, and John Newcomb. There are no more scars. Well, that means we're at the end of episode 20 of Lachie Does Footy. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week for episode 21.